The conference room at Sterling and Associates smelled like old leather and something sharper. Desperation, maybe? My older brother sat 3 chairs down from me, hands folded on the mahogany table, acting like he owned the place. Acting like he owned Dad's company. I'd chosen the chair closest to the window. The autumn sun felt warm on my back, but it did nothing for the ice settling in my stomach. This was supposed to be a routine probate hearing. Dad had been gone for 8 months, and his will was crystal clear. The business Sterling Consulting Group, valued at $1.4 million, went to me. I'd worked alongside him for 12 years. I'd earned it, but Marcus had other plans. The mediator, a woman named Miss Chen, sat at the head of the table with reading glasses perched on her nose. She looked tired. This was probably her 4th family dispute this week. Mr. Sterling, she said, glancing at Marcus. You've requested this hearing to contest the distribution of your father's estate. Please state your claim. Marcus leaned forward, and I noticed his suit was new. Too new. Designer label, perfect fit. Where had he gotten the money for that? Last I heard, he'd been let go from his sales job. Again. My father's will is incomplete, Marcus said, voice steady. Rehearsed. It doesn't reflect my contributions to Sterling Consulting Group. I was there from the beginning. I almost laughed. The beginning? He'd been 7 years old when Dad started the company in our garage. What contributions are you referring to? Miss Chen asked. Marcus nodded to the lawyer, sitting beside him, a man I'd never seen before, younger than both of us, with a smirk that made my skin crawl. The lawyer slid a document across the table. My client has a partnership agreement, signed by Robert Sterling in 1998. It establishes Marcus Sterling as a co-founder with equal equity rights. The words hung in the air. Miss Chen picked up the document, studied it. My heart was hammering, but I kept my face neutral. Dad had taught me that. Never let them see you panic. This appears to be a partnership agreement, Miss Chen said slowly. Miss Sterling, were you aware of this document? No. My voice came out calmer than I felt. I've never seen that before. The lawyer's smirk widened. Your father clearly intended for both children to inherit the business. This document predates the will by 15 years. It takes precedence. Marcus was watching me now, and I recognized that look. Triumph. He thought he'd won. He thought Dad's lawyer, my lawyer, hadn't prepared me for this. But Roger had prepared me for everything. May I see the document? I asked. Miss Chen passed it across. I forced myself to read slowly, even though my hands wanted to shake. It looked official. Dad's signature at the bottom, dated March 1998. Partnership agreement establishing joint ownership between Robert Sterling and Marcus Sterling. I pulled my phone from my purse. Miss Sterling? Miss Chen asked. I need to make a call, I said. To my lawyer? The young lawyer scoffed. You can't just call. She has the right to consult with counsel. Miss Chen interrupted. Her tone clipped. 5-minute recess. I stepped into the hallway, hands trembling now that no one could see. But I wasn't calling Roger. I was calling the number he'd given me 3 weeks ago, when he'd first explained what Marcus might try. Danielle? Roger's voice came through, calm as ever. What happened? Partnership agreement. 1998. He's claiming co-founder status. Did you bring the folder I gave you? It's in my bag. Good. Go back in. Wait for my text. And remember, stay calm. The line went dead. When I returned, Marcus was leaning back in his chair, relaxed. His lawyer was typing something on his phone. They thought this was over. Miss Sterling? Miss Chen said. Do you have a response to this document? I do. I reached into my bag, pulled out the folder Roger had prepared. Inside were 3 documents, each one flagged with a yellow tab. I'd like to submit these for review. Miss Chen took them. The first was a corporate filing from 1998, listing Sterling Consulting Group as a sole proprietorship owned exclusively by Robert Sterling. The second was a business license, also from 1998, same information. The third document made Miss Chen's eyebrows rise. This is a forensic analysis, she said, looking at Marcus. Of the partnership agreement you submitted, Marcus's lawyer sat up straighter. What analysis? My lawyer had the document examined, I said, keeping my voice level. As soon as Marcus requested this hearing, we knew he might produce something like this. The analysis is on page 2. Miss Chen turned the page. Read silently. Her expression shifted from neutral to something harder. Mr. Sterling, she said, and her tone had changed completely. This forensic analysis indicates that the signature on your partnership agreement is a forgery. The ink composition doesn't match any documents signed by Robert Sterling in 1998. Furthermore, the paper stock wasn't manufactured until 2003. The room went very quiet. That's impossible, Marcus said, but his voice had lost its confidence. My father signed that. I watched him. You were 7 years old in 1998, I said softly. You wouldn't remember. The lawyer was shuffling through his own papers now, face pale. My client provided this document in good faith. Did you verify it? Miss Chen asked. My client assured me. That's not what I asked. Marcus stood up, chair scraping back. This is ridiculous. That's my father's signature. I don't care what some so-called expert says. Sit down, Mr. Sterling. Miss. Chen's voice had steel in it now. She typed something on her computer, waited. Her screen reflected in her glasses, and I couldn't read her expression. I'm pulling your case history. My what? Standard procedure when fraud is alleged. She clicked her mouse. Read? Clicked again. Mr. Sterling, were you involved in a dispute with your former employer in 2019 regarding falsified sales records? The blood drained from Marcus's face. I felt something shift in my chest. I'd known Marcus had been fired, but I hadn't known why. Dad had refused to talk about it. He made his own choices, was all he'd ever said. That was settled, Marcus said tightly. I didn't admit to anything. You settled for $40,000 to avoid prosecution, Miss Chen read from her screen, and signed an agreement acknowledging that you'd submitted false documentation to inflate your commission earnings. The lawyer stood up. Your Honor, I'm not a judge, Miss Chen said. I'm a mediator. But I'm also an officer of this court, and I'm required to report suspected fraud. She looked at Marcus. Did you create this partnership agreement yourself? No. Do you know who created it? Marcus's jaw worked. It was in Dad's files. I found it after he died. Which files? His home office. I inventoried Dad's entire office, I said. His file cabinets, his desk, his computer. I gave everything to the estate lawyer. There was no partnership agreement. You must have missed it, Marcus snapped. Or you created it, Miss Chen said. Mr. Sterling, I'm suspending this hearing. I'm also recommending that the probate court investigate this matter further. If this document is proven to be fraudulent, you could face criminal charges. The room felt too small suddenly, too hot. Marcus was staring at me like I'd betrayed him, like I was the one who'd lied. Sarah, he said, and his voice cracked. Come on, you don't need all of it. The company was Dad's whole life. He'd want us to share it. If Dad wanted that, I said quietly, he would have written it in his will. He was old. He forgot. He was 62 when he died, Marcus. He wasn't old. He wasn't forgetful. He knew exactly what he was doing. Marcus's lawyer was packing his briefcase. I'm withdrawing from this case, he muttered. I was not informed of any prior fraud issues. You didn't ask, Miss Chen said coldly. Wait, Marcus said, reaching for the lawyer's arm. You can't just leave. I can, and I am. The lawyer pulled away. You lied to me about your background. You said this document came from your father's attorney. It clearly didn't. I'm not risking my license for this. The door closed behind him with a soft click. Miss Chen stood. This hearing is concluded. Miss Sterling, you'll maintain control of the business as outlined in your father's will. Mr. Sterling, you should retain new counsel. The probate court will be in touch. She gathered her papers and left. Marcus and I sat in silence. You could have just given me something, he finally said. A percentage. Enough to get back on my feet. Dad left you $50,000 in his will, I said. That's something. It's nothing. Not compared to what you got. I worked for it, Marcus. 12 years. You worked there one summer, and Dad had to let you go because you were taking client lunches on the company card and charging them to fake accounts. His face flushed red. That was a mistake. It was theft. It was family money. It was Dad's money, not yours. I stood, picked up my bag. He gave you chances. So many chances. You're the one who kept messing them up. You were always his favorite, Marcus said, and he sounded like a child. Everything you did was perfect. Everything I did was wrong. For a second, I almost felt sorry for him. Almost. I wasn't perfect, I said. I just showed up. Every day. That's all Dad wanted from you. I left him sitting there. 3 days later, Roger called me. Probate court wants to see you, he said. They've completed the preliminary investigation into Marcus's document. And they're filing criminal charges. Forgery, fraud, attempted theft. He could be looking at 2 to 5 years. I sat down heavily on my office chair, the same chair Dad used to sit in. 2 to 5 years? He has a prior offense. That makes it worse. Roger paused. The DA's office also wants to talk to you. You'll need to testify about the estate, about your father's intentions. Okay, Sarah, there's something else. His voice got quieter. Marcus tried to access the company bank accounts yesterday. He used an old password from 2015. Apparently, your dad never changed it. The bank flagged it as suspicious activity and locked him out, but he did try. I closed my eyes. He what? He was trying to transfer funds. $200,000. The bank's security system caught it. Where was he sending it? An offshore account in the Cayman Islands, set up last month. My hands went numb. He'd planned this. All of it. The fake partnership agreement was just the first step. If it hadn't worked, he was going to steal the money anyway. The bank is filing their own charges, Roger said. Wire fraud, attempted theft, identity fraud. This is federal now, Sarah. This is serious. That night, I got a call from a number I didn't recognize. Sarah, it was Marcus. His voice sounded hollow. Please, I need you to tell them it was a misunderstanding. Was it? Silence. Marcus, you tried to steal $200,000 from the company. I was desperate. I have debts you don't understand. Then you should have asked for help. You should have been honest. Would you have given it to me? I thought about that. Honestly thought about it. If you'd come to me and said you needed help, if you'd shown me you were trying to turn things around, then yes. Maybe. But you didn't do that. You tried to steal from Dad's company. From me. After everything. Sarah, don't call me again. I hung up. The trial took 4 months to get to court. In that time, I threw myself into running Sterling Consulting. Dad's clients stayed loyal. I hired 2 new consultants, both sharp and hungry. We landed a contract with a tech startup worth $300,000 annually. Marcus's lawyer, his new lawyer, a public defender, tried to negotiate a plea deal. The DA offered 18 months with probation. Marcus refused. He wanted to go to trial, convinced he could win. He was wrong. The forensic expert testified about the forged partnership agreement. The bank's security team testified about the attempted wire transfer. I testified about Dad's will, about the company, about Marcus's history. The jury took 90 minutes to convict him on all counts. The judge gave him 3 years in federal prison. I sat in the courtroom and watched them take him away in handcuffs. He looked at me once, and I couldn't read his expression. Anger? Regret? I didn't know. I didn't stay to find out. 6 months later, I stood in the new office space I'd leased for Sterling Consulting Group. Floor-to-ceiling windows, downtown location, room for a team of 12. We'd grown faster than I'd expected. Turns out, when you're not worrying about a family member trying to destroy everything you've built, you can actually focus on building. My phone buzzed. A text from Roger. Marcus is requesting supervised visitation. Wants to talk. I stared at the message for a long time. Then I typed back, not yet. Maybe someday, but not yet. I put the phone down and looked out at the city. Dad used to stand at the window in his old office the same way, hands in his pockets, watching the sunset. He'd say, "You know what business really is, Sarah? It's trust. People trust you to do what you say. That's all that matters." Marcus had broken that trust. With Dad, with me, with everyone. Maybe he'd rebuild it someday. Maybe he'd get out of prison and figure out how to be someone different. But that wasn't my problem to solve. I had a company to run. The sunset painted the sky orange and gold, and I let myself smile. Not because I'd won, not because Marcus had lost, but because I was still here, still standing, still building the thing Dad had started. That was enough. That would always be enough.